Interruption, but I'm Mike Wilbon. A new study says adults sleep better when they're rocked to bed like babies.
I'm Tony Kornheiser. It's helped me, but the intern gets tired around 3 in the morning.
What do you got, an intern the size of Shaq rocking you to sleep? What are you talking about?
Wouldn't that be great if Shaq was on call and he could rock you to sleep? And then when that happened, you could turn to Russell Westbrook and you could do this? How great would that be?
Shaq has had you in the air once before.
Came up from behind, picked me up in the air. I have no idea what was happening. That's absolutely true. Wasn't that at the All-Star game in New York a few years back? Welcome to PTI, boys and girls. In today's episode, I meet the Warriors. Djokovic faces Nadal, and John Calipari joins us for 5 good minutes. But we begin today with day 6 of the ongoing ill will stemming from the no call last Sunday in the Rams-Saints game. 2 developments to discuss. Benjamin Watson, tight end of the Saints, blasted Roger Goodell for his continued inaction, saying in part, and I quote, "Your continued silence on this matter is unbecoming of the position you hold, detrimental to the integrity of the game, and disrespectful and dismissive to football fans everywhere. From the locker room to Park Avenue, accountability is what makes our league great. Lead by example. We are waiting," unquote. And the NFL, ever tone deaf, fined Rams DB Nickel Roby-Coleman $26,739, a nice round number, for his helmet-to-helmet hit, which wasn't even flagged. Wilbon, I assume this settles it for you.
And it was already settled. Not accountable. An active player said of the commissioner of a league, accurately, "You are too shiftless and lazy to even be accountable." That is an unbelievable shot across his dome, and good for Benjamin Watson, who's heroic to me. And the NFL has the nerve to fine someone for a hit that apparently didn't exist. It didn't exist in real time in the game. Tony, you cannot criticize Roger Goodell enough. And I'll give you credit for, I think, being the first person to say, step out from under your desk and address the public.
He's hiding. I read what Benjamin Watson said, and you applaud it.
Applaud him, yes.
You applaud it. It takes guts to do that. You would say to yourself, is this a fireable offense? You'd say, sure, it's a fireable offense for a commissioner to hide, but he's never going to be addressed. But let me get to the notion of what I think a commissioner is about and why we have commissioners. And I wrote some notes down, so I'm going to just look at them. I think it's to render decisions that involve the entire population, to show the entire population of fans, of players, of coaches, of owners, that you care, that you are involving all of them.
Yes.
That these are smart decisions, these are courageous decisions when they have to be. So what we are faced with here is no decision at all, total inaction, and we're going to wait for that press conference, which is 2 or 3 days before the Super Bowl.
Yeah, the Friday before.
10 or 11 days after this happened. And he's going to deal with it in a question, and the next question is going to be this. So how many games were played in London?
Right. What about
how many games were played in London? So this is cowardly to me.
How about this, that Schefter is reporting that Sean Payton had to reach Roger Goodell. Roger Goodell wouldn't even take the initiative.
No.
Tony, is it being afraid? Is it being tone deaf? Is
all of them.
What do you...
But as long as the owners back them up, and
it won't
nothing will change.
Won't matter.
We come to this point once a year where we say this is terrible. But in this particular case, most of those things are terrible, not about the general public. This is terrible about the general public, that you don't think enough of them to say why you have done nothing.
What you've done. Pathetic. Let's move to the NBA. And an event you had more than passing interest in, Tony.
I went.
The Warriors beating the Wizards here in D.C. last night. You did. We were there. Let's focus in on the Warriors continuing to play happily with their new toy, DeMarcus Cousins. He made 8 of his 12 shots last night and dominated the paint the way big men used to before they became endangered species. While the rest of the league is still obsessing over going small, the Dubs are throwing big at everybody now. Tony, is the concern about Boogie fitting in already over in your mind?
In honoring transparency, let me say I went to the arena. I didn't actually stay for the game, but I hung around with you. I talked to Steve Kerr, talked to Sean Livingston, talked to Draymond Green, briefly said hi to Steph Curry. So I was there. I felt good about that. And now that ends the nice part of what I'm going to say. Now I'm going backwards 8 to 10 days ago, and I'm quoting you directly when you said, quote, "Nobody's afraid of the Warriors anymore." And you said, quote, "The Warriors can't dominate. That was the day of the Denver
They weren't
game.
dominating.
That was the day of the. I got the quote right.
Dominating.
Later that night, the Warriors put 142 on Denver in Denver and won by 31. You know, we call that domination, Holmes. They're the best team.
Tony, they weren't dominating before that.
They are now.
They were being challenged before that. They weren't even in first place in their own conference. Now they are. Let me go back to the question about Boogie Cousins. Tony, when he gets down and he seals his man, it looks like Wilt.
Get a seal here, get a seal there.
Like Zelmo Beatty, which I'm sure is an image you can get with.
Yeah.
And Boogie goes up, and you're done. The last night, the Warriors only took 23s, 20. The Rockets are sometimes taking 65 threes in a game. They took 20. They shot 63% from 2, and they got the ball in the Boogie. And you know what? After the game, they all went, "Oh my God, this is so effective." As he gets more in sort of game shape and midseason form, Tony, nobody's going to be able to deal with them because they're all small. Their lineups are small now.
So what's interesting about this, and I mentioned that we did talk to Steve Kerr and we did talk to Sean Livingston. It occurs to me that this is the first time that Boogie Cousins is not the centerpiece of a team, that he might actually have something to prove about the way he looks at basketball and the maturity level he's at now. He's on the right team because it's a selfless team. If he is as good as he has been in the past, but in a team concept, the 5 starters they put out that are all-stars, nobody beats them. At the moment, they have played 32 minutes together, and they are ahead of their opponents by 34 points.
Yeah.
Who's going to beat them, Mike?
It's almost easy. You know what? The Wizards played actually
very well. They got 98 points from their starters.
And finally, the Warriors just said, "We've had enough of this."
It was
had enough.
Cat and mouse game.
It was.
Every time they got close, they said, "Okay, that's enough." The 10 starters in the upcoming NBA All-Star game have been announced, and they include the captains LeBron James and Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Getting better.
Last year was the first time the NBA went to this draft concept where the captains alternate picks. This year, happily, it's going to be televised. Wilbon, who should each captain pick first?
You know, I don't think it matters much, but I would just say this. You know, I still want internationals against the U.S. That's what I want in the All-Star game. Okay. Now you're getting a second wave of guys like Antetokounmpo and Jokic and Nurkic. You're getting, you know, Doncic.
Sure.
But anyway, if I'm Giannis, I'm taking Kawhi Leonard.
Okay.
And I'd like to see, I have no idea if he'll do this, I'd like to see LeBron take Steph Curry.
Okay.
Well,
no, that's fine.
Right.
The one person I'm never going to take is James Harden because I want to actually touch the ball during the game. P.J. Tucker the other night, just because, Harden's got to get the ball, so I'm just going to leave it here and not touch it at all. Seriously, not only am I not taking Harden, I would petition the league if I could take Derrick Rose ahead of him. I might take Carmelo ahead of him. But in terms of the first picks, in terms of the first picks, the interesting thing for me would be if LeBron had Durant out there because of what Durant said. Durant said nobody wants to play with LeBron.
Yeah.
So if I was LeBron,
one game.
Do you know what I would do?
What?
I would pick Durant and I would give him a DNP CD. I would say, you don't want to play with me? No problem, big boy. Sit on the bench.
I don't think LeBron gets determined that there will still be coaches, sort of, kind of.
Okay. DNP.
You know, and I think
CD
Steve Kerr
captain
will likely be the coach of that Western Conference. Well, it's not a conference. I guess
no.
He would be the coach of the LeBron All-Stars.
Shirts and skins, basically. That's what it is.
Aren't you with me on internationals versus
I'd like
the
to
U.S.?
see that.
Because, look,
but would there be bad blood? What if they got in fights or something?
They play with and against each other every night. What are you
That's sort of like that. There's so many good international players.
There are. Again,
I like that.
It's the second wave. There was back when Yao Ming was in the league and Dirk was young. You could have played that game. And now you got a full team of young internationals. Listen up, Park Avenue. They're not Park Avenue. Where's the NBA?
I think everybody's on Park Avenue.
No.
That's close to Park Avenue. It's one of the good avenues. One of the really big avenues.
Enough about exhibition basketball, Tony. Let's get to Grand Slam action down in Australia, where we now know Sunday's men's final will match two very familiar rivals, Rafael Nadal and Novak Djokovic. Between them, they've won 31 slams. And it raises this question. Roger Federer has 20, Nadal has 17, and Joker has 14. Nobody else has more than 3, Andy Murray. So which one of those 3 will end up with the most slam titles?
You know what drives me crazy when you call them slams? They're majors. A slam is all 4. They're major titles. They're major titles. Anyway,
Grand Slam titles.
I believe I've said this every year of the last 6 years that Federer's done, and eventually it will come true. Eventually Federer won't win any, so I've got him at 20, 21 at the most if he wins one more.
Federer 20.
Nadal is 32 years old.
He will be.
But he's...
Oh, he is 32.
Yeah, he's 32. But he's pounded his body. He has really pounded his body.
He's injured now, it seems like every other year.
All the time. Now,
Joker will be 32
I
soon.
think that Nadal will get 2 to 3 more French Opens because he always does. So if he wins this, I've got him at worst tied at 20 with Federer and maybe 21. Djokovic has played through his physical problems, his elbow problems aren't as bad. My problem with him, and we could talk about this.
What?
He's a great player, but he's not a star, so I don't really care about him. He's not a star.
You think
not a
Djokovic
star.
is not a star?
I think he's not a star.
You?
I think Federer and Nadal are
They're
stars.
bigger stars.
They're
bigger stars.
But it could be him. But he's got a long way to go. He's only got 14.
He's got 14. If he wins, this one, it gives him 15. And
still got to go 6 more.
That's a lot after the age of 32.
Except that there's no young players who are any good.
And by the way, majors are golf championships.
And tennis.
I don't
and tennis.
Despite all that,
of you
I'm going to go with Nadal, strangely enough. And I realize he gets hurt.
But he wins the French.
Every other year, it seems. He wins the French. You got to figure he's got like 2 more automatic in him.
I think so.
And if he gets this one, especially with the winner of this particular, the Australian Open, which is what, Saturday here and Sunday there, Saturday night, who knows?
Sometime.
They've got an advantage, and you have written off Federer. You wrote off Federer at like 14.
Every year.
You got to kick Federer to the curb at 14 or 15.
I was wrong.
He's gotten like 6 more.
No,
so how's that going?
I understand that. These guys, at this point, because there's nobody young chasing them.
That's just it.
Do you know what they're like? They're like Manny Pacquiao. They can keep fighting and keep winning a belt.
So who's going to interrupt it? Tiafoe? I mean, nobody.
He's a long way away.
Tony, there's a 10-year vacuum out there.
Let's take a break. Coming up, we'll ask John Calipari, what has changed since Kentucky got blowed out by Duke?
We'll also ask him what it feels like to be looking up at the Volunteers. Don't get to ask Cal that question very often.
Great tennis players announce themselves by 20. They do. Tomorrow is number 9 Kansas takes on number 8 Kentucky in the Big 12 SEC Challenge, and we are very pleased to welcome back to the show Kentucky coach John Calipari. So Bill Self says it's fun for him to compete against you. What is it like for you to compete against him?
Torture. He is so good at what he does. It's like I'm holding on to this rope. My hands are bleeding. I'm kicking alligators. Here's what I would say about all these games as a coach. If winning becomes a relief, you better get out of this. You got to enjoy these games. So I enjoy playing them. Every game is a challenge. The issue I have early in the season, my team is so young. I think they said we're the 352nd ranked team by age. I'm like, and again, we're expected to win. No one wants to hear that excuse. So it took us some time, but I'm liking this team. They're getting better each week.
Well, to that end, you've won 5 straight, John, and you've beaten some pretty good teams in that stretch. But how has your team changed since that opening loss to Duke, which sort of, scared some people?
Did we lose to Duke?
Yeah.
Matter of fact, they beat us by 100. It's been a while since I've taken one of those as a coach or my teams, but they played out of their minds and put us on our heels from the beginning of the game, and we never were able to come up off the mat. But 2 of the games we lost, this is... Again, you're trying to get a young team, and how you have to understand it's a process and get them to understand. There's going to be bumps in the road. We play a game against Seton Hall, and they make some unbelievable shots, play out of their mind, and beat us. After the game, I told the team, I didn't say it publicly, but I told the team, I want you to look at that game as though we won. If he didn't make that falling out of bounds into this chair, we win that game. And then one of the players said it publicly, and everybody's mad, Cal. We don't have moral victories. I said, wait a minute. I need them in the right frame of mind. They're getting better. So now we beat Auburn. You know what I said? I want you to think that last layup went in and we lost. Did you change? We got better. As long as we're getting better, we got to deal with results.
So I'm going to take a long time getting to this question, because for a number of years, you had the youngest team, and you may still have the youngest team, but you made a reputation in Kentucky by acquiring tremendous freshmen. And we would live with this till about March or April, and then you'd see if they would come along. The Duke team that beat you has 4 freshmen out there, and they are studly. And so you see the attention that Duke gets and Krzyzewski gets for essentially doing what you've done for a while, and you think what?
That was a long question.
Yeah, I knew it was long.
Michael, I'm waiting for you to jump in.
I went to sleep when he was so long.
I mean,
John.
what are you doing? No, look, here's why I like what's going on. When I initially did it, everybody was mad at me. I was the devil. I was the worst human being. By them doing it, it's made it okay. But it's not okay for the game. It's okay for the kids.
All right, I want to zero in on this team right now with one of the things you're doing. All of basketball, all over the world is obsessed with three-point shooting. The Rockets shoot 50 of them a game. You're averaging only 17 a game right now, John, which I'm sure you know. Have you been tempted to go three-point crazy, or is this a function of the personnel you have right now?
This may be the best three-point shooting team I have, but it's one of the best post-up teams I've had. But it's one of the best driving teams. So there's got to be a balance. I want my teams to shoot between 20 and 23 threes. That's where I want it to be. Right in that range is good. Anytime my teams, because of our style, I guess, or whatever, we shoot 30, we lose. We want to shoot, if we shoot 23, 24, maybe it's because we're making a bunch. The NBA 5 years ago had 47,000 threes. Last year, it was 72,000 threes.
Wow.
This year, they're on pace for more. Is the game going to become everybody shooting 43s? And if that's how you win, I guess that's what you do. I'm looking at this saying, look, could I ever get to that? Yeah, I guess. But I'm not. I want these kids to learn how to play basketball. I want them to learn about spacing. I want them to be the guy that creates the shots for other people. I want the guy that always has the ball in his hand, learn to play without it. You don't know what team you're going to go to. What if you're on Houston? James Harden's going to have the ball, not you.
How does it feel right now to be looking up at Tennessee? That's got to be weird.
Oh, are they good? Let me just say this. First of all, Rick Barnes is an unbelievable coach. Second of all, they don't beat themselves. You got to beat them. They're not beating themselves. Third thing is, they're veterans. They're juniors and seniors. They've been together 3 years. So my hope is we don't play them for a while so that we continue to get better, so that we don't have us walking into them and having another Duke debacle where we get smashed. They are really, really good.
Thank you so much, as
John,
always,
we appreciate
John.
it. Thank you much.
Thanks.
Kansas, Kentucky is on ESPN tomorrow at 6 Eastern. Let's take one last break, but still to come was Jamal Adams out of line for tackling Pat Patriot.
Out of line, and that's sort of mild. How many will James Harden score against the Raptors tonight?
Think 60's in play again?
No, I don't.
What do you got?
38. How about that?
How about that?
I've been right a lot.
How about that,
Harden.
sports fans?
I've been right.
How about that?
Huh? You got to play against Kawhi.
Happy time, people. Happy 25th birthday tomorrow to Kenyon Drake. Who? That's what everyone is going to ask. Kenyon Drake is the running back on the Miami Dolphins who got into the end zone against the New England Patriots on the final play of the game that became the most interesting and almost the most decisive play of the season. I say almost because although the play deprived the Patriots of home field in the AFC Championship game, they won it anyway.
Yeah, but they'd rather be playing at home, right?
Sure, but they won it. They won it on the road.
They didn't need it, but if you gave them their druthers, you know what they'd say.
Happy anniversary, Brett Favre. Around this day 22 years ago, Favre and the Packers beat Drew Bledsoe, Bill Parcells, and the Patriots in the Super Bowl. Favre threw for 2 touchdowns and ran for a third and still did not get the MVP.
Didn't deserve
because
it.
Desmond Howard's 99-yard kick return thwarted a Patriots comeback and essentially sealed the game.
Tony, this is missing from pro football. The great return men like
because
Desmond
they're
Howard
afraid they're going to get
Devin
killed on
Hester.
kickoffs.
But don't you miss the play?
I do, but it's safer. Happy trails to the Patriots mascot. Pat Patriot was taken down hard by Jets Pro Bowl safety, tweeting, quote, "This one is for every Patriots hater out there. I got y'all," unquote. If I was the guy inside that costume, I would sue Adams for every cent he has for this malicious, unwarranted attack.
He slowed up, though. He didn't really deliver a full shot. Sadly, the mascot was injured to a degree, but we're told he's okay, right?
Yes. One error, the NBA offices are on 5th Avenue, not Park Avenue. Wilbon had that right.
I said 5th Avenue.
Quickly to the big finish. Coach K says Trey Jones is probable for tomorrow's game against Georgia Tech. Big deal?
I guess so. You want him in there. He's the best defensive guard we're told in the country, so yes. Antonio Brown photoshopped himself in a Niners uniform getting hugged from Jerry Rice. Is that tampering?
It's not tampering, but it's a very clear message to the Steelers. The Bears worked out 6 of 7 kickers and signed former Tulsa kicker Redford Jones. Are you happy about that?
Let's say this one time. Robbie Gould. Just get him in an Uber. He lives there. 46-year-old Adam Vinatieri will return for one more season with the Colts. Your thoughts?
Farewell tour. He's a Hall of Fame kicker. Last one, Raptors and Rockets tonight. How many for you, Boy Harden?
I'm going to surprise you with this. I'm going under 40. 38. 38 for Harden.
Out of time. We're going to try and do better the next time, and I'm Tony Kornheiser.
38 is still a lot of points. He's got
a lot.
Kawhi and Siakam. I'm Mike Wilbon. Have a great weekend, you knuckleheads. You can get the PTI podcast on the Apple Podcast. Tony Massenberg, Walt Williams. I can't wait to read Lessons on Lenny Bias.